political and legal controversy is developing over former President Joe Biden's chief of staff, Jeff Zients, authorizing the use of an Autopen to sign a wave of preemptive pardons during Biden's final night in office. Now, according to reports, Zients gave final approval for the automated signature device to execute multiple high-profile clemency decisions, including pardons for former Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci and former Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley. The approvals reportedly came via email on the night of the 19th of January, just hours before Joe Biden left office. And while Biden reportedly set the standards for who qualified for clemency, it is alleged that he did not personally approve each individual case, sparking allegations from political opponents that Biden was unaware of what was being signed in his name. At the center of this uproar is the Autopen, which is a mechanical device basically designed to replicate a person's signature using a real pen. It's been used for decades now by presidents and government officials for efficiency in signing large volumes of documents. However, President Trump claims the use of the Autopen renders thousands of Biden's final pardons void, alleging that it reflects a broader effort to conceal Biden's cognitive decline. And Trump also ordered an investigation into whether Biden's aides misused the device to exercise executive power without his full awareness. The House Oversight Committee, led by Republicans, is intensifying its probe. Biden's former White House physician, in fact, was summoned by James Comer as part of a Republican-led investigation into Biden's mental fitness and the use of a presidential Autopen while in office. The White House has pushed back, saying the Autopen use was legally sound and that the controversy is politically motivated. In fact, Biden himself has dismissed concerns over his mental fitness, saying reports of decline are baseless. Biden granted over 4,000 acts of clemency during his presidency, and most were in his final months. And while the legality of the Autopen remains settled in precedent, the political fallout is far from over.
Mr. President, what will your message be tomorrow night?
All right, going back across now to Susan Teherani. Susan, of course, that investigation, tell us more about which way we see the procedure heading, really, in terms of what happens next. What can one expect procedurally and timeline-wise? But also at the same time, the immediate question is, and perhaps the curiosity would be around whether the U.S. president at this time, whether Donald Trump is also using an Autopen for signatures, because this is something that is set in precedent as well.
Yeah, it's not illegal to use the Autopen, as President Trump himself said. It's usually used for letters from 7-year-olds who write to the White House, to the president, and they say that they want to be president one day. The question, right, and again, it's also not against the law that if Joe Biden ultimately used the Autopen to offer clemency or even sign other documents, that's not against the law either. It doesn't make the document render useless or inauthentic at the end of the day. It's just a part of a larger question about who was making the final decisions in the White House and whether or not former President Joe Biden was cognitively really aware of what was happening. He admits in a New York Times article interview that while he signed off on the clemencies, at the very bottom of the article, it is alleged that he actually, when there were changes made to these letters, he really didn't sign off on those changes. So at first, he would just sign off, and the only one that he personally signed was Hunter Biden's, according to him. And then the rest of it was sort of taken care of by his staff. Now, what can happen moving forward? Well, investigative committees are trying to call Jill Biden, former First Lady, up to Capitol Hill for testimony. That's really dicey. It's not going to go down well, at least for the image of the Republicans. President Biden's former doctor just was on Capitol Hill for testimony. He pleaded the fifth. He didn't answer any questions. And then ultimately, you're going to be seeing these subpoenas moving forward. But just one last thing, Molly, Many believe that the real question isn't about the Autopen because the Autopen isn't ultimately illegal. The real question right now and the real scandal may be why is it that the Biden administration gave a preemptive pardon to so many high-ranking people, including his son, his family members, Dr. Fauci, and Mark Milley. So, there are some that believe that that should really be the main focus on why were these preemptive pardons given as opposed to the use of the Autopen.
And something that the Trump administration or President Trump himself will continue to latch on to as well as the things indicate at this point. Susan, thanks very much for now.